Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your libertarian car guy, and it's another happy week. I'm getting to drive a 20 Mustang GT, which prompted some thoughts in relation to the BMW 850i that I posted a video of last week. Now the 850i is a fabulous car, great looking car, incredibly powerful car, lots of fun car, but so is this Mustang GT. And the gulf in price between this thing, which starts at around $35,000, and the 850, which starts at about $111,000, is striking because of the narrowness of the gap between the two in terms of objective metrics, such as performance, such as the type of engine and general layout. The GT comes standard with a 5-liter V8 and 460 horsepower, made without turbos, by the way, whereas the BMW has a V8 but a much smaller one, 4.4 liters. Makes more power because it has twin turbos, but not all that much more power. 522 horsepower, which is very impressive, but consider the fact that the car costs $60,000, $70,000 more. Both cars get to 60 in about the same approximately 3.8, 3.9 seconds or so. The BMW is slightly quicker, but you're not going to be able to tell unless you have a stopwatch and are being timed by somebody, the difference in acceleration between the two cars, which in the real world is going to come down to who's got the faster reaction time. Suffice to say, both are phenomenally quick cars, phenomenally fun to drive cars. In my opinion, the Mustang's probably more fun to drive because it's rear-wheel drive, so you can hang the tail out, you can smoke the tires. But the point is, again, to just kind of circle back to where I started out, that the difference in what you get for your money isn't what it used to be. And I think, frankly, that's part of the reason why the car business is kind of in a torpor right now, that there's some ennui out there, and why people are so excited about these electric cars. Of course, a lot of that is propaganda, and they haven't really come face to face yet with the actuality of electric cars. But consider that there's just not that much difference anymore between even an entry-level car and a luxury car. It's not like it was when I was a kid way back in the 80s, when if you got into an entry-level car, you got basically a body, a very flimsily put-together body, a very underpowered engine, and usually a speedometer, and then a couple of idiot lights, and that was it. Things like air conditioning, forget about it. If it was available, it was optional. Same with power windows locks. You did not get a touch screen. You did not get a great surround sound stereo. You can get all of those kinds of things now in cars that cost $20,000. They all come standard with most of those things. Around $20,000, most cars will come with climate control, air conditioning, power, everything. While they may not get to 60 in 3.8 seconds, they don't take 30 seconds to get to 60 or even 15. Most of them will get to 60 in about 8 seconds. You spend a little bit more money, and you're down to 6 seconds to get to 60. So think about that. Even a Camry, which is a family car, with its V6, will get to 60 in about 5.8 seconds. So it's about a second and a half behind something like this Mustang GT and the 850i. It's really just not that much of a difference anymore. So it's good news for people who haven't got $111,000 to spend on an exotic like the 850i. What you're really getting there with that car is just exclusivity, the fact that you don't see them very often, whereas you do see a lot of Mustangs because Mustangs are affordable. But the hilarious thing is you can run with a $111,000 car right out of the box. And if you took some of the money that you saved by not buying the $111,000 car and put it towards, say, a supercharger, bolt on a supercharger on this Mustang GT. Let's say that you just bought it and you had somebody else install it. You did absolutely nothing except write a check. Worst possible case scenario is that you spend about $4,000 or $5,000 for that whole deal to buy it and have somebody put it on. And now that 460 horsepower is probably going to be around 550 horsepower. So substantially more than the six-figure exotic for a total investment including the car plus adding the supercharger to it, in the low 40s, in that ballpark. Let's say 45, just for sake of discussion. Okay, so 45,000 bucks. You could buy two of them, and still not have spent as much as you'd spend on the base level 850. And again, I'm not slamming the 850. I loved it. Those of you who read my review will know how much I loved it. But it's just amazing how much you can get for so much less money these days than was the case in the past, where if you spent exotic car money, you got exotic performance. You still do get exotic performance, but exotic performance has been democratized, and it's now available for regular people who can't afford the exotic price. So anyway, I'll have more about this Mustang up on the site shortly. There's also a piece about some of the latest idiocies going on in the car industry, including this proposal to do away with outside rear view mirrors, physical outside rear view mirrors, that is, in favor of cameras and LCD displays. And I think that goes back to the fact that people are bored with cars, and this gives the manufacturers another way to make them excited. Ooh, look, no outside rear view mirrors. All you have to do is look at the touchscreen and you can see. So I think that's what that's all about, but it's really obnoxious because it's going to make cars more expensive to buy, probably. It's certainly going to make them more expensive to maintain when that technology fails down the road. And I could just see no sound reason for it, in that it's at best, it's a complicated, elaborate way of making something simple and cheap, expensive and complicated. I don't see any real functional advantage to it whatsoever, and I can see a lot of disadvantages. So there's an article up on the site about that. If you're interested, stop on by and have a look. Should have more interesting things for you in the very near future. So thanks for listening to The Rant, and thanks for viewing the site, and we'll catch up with you again soon.